Good morning, everyone. Renee Hasseldine here, CEO and founder of ThinkRapt. This morning, I'm joined by the fabulous Vanessa Talbot, who I haven't seen for so long. Welcome, Vanessa. So great to talk to you.
I know, I haven't seen you for such a long time, except we caught up on LinkedIn on my once a year visit to LinkedIn the other day.
I'm over to the dark side. I took a lot of convincing to move to LinkedIn land, but now that I'm there, I feel like I've made myself at home. So,
yeah. I mean, a lot of people try to convince me as well, and I just haven't got there yet. Probably because I've got a good group on Facebook, and I spend a bit of time in there. So kind of adding one more to the repertoire feels a bit, oh my God, I don't want to be overloaded. But
yes.
People swear by it. A lot of my, peers like yourself and others, they just love it. They swear by it. I think I got put off, Renee, in the early days when it first started. I'm sorry if there's going to be a bird in the background.
That bird has a lot to say this morning.
He comes out really loud. It's a tiny little bird about that big.
Oh, no way.
And everyone thinks, oh my God, it sounds
big
like a
voice.
big emu or something with the voice on it.
But you do have a very successful Facebook group. So do you want to, and that's sort of part of your business. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the background of your business for those who haven't met you before?
Yeah, so what I do is I work with coaches and change makers, anyone who lots into that change makers. A lot of them are coaches, but some do other things like spiritual work and stuff like that. And what I do is basically activate them so that they get known and attract clients. Because in all my time mentoring coaches on their coaching skills, I found out a lot. Great coaches, but nobody knew who they were, so they couldn't get clients. So it's about amping up your presence as a coach and change maker to make sure people actually know what you can do for them. So that's the gist of it.
Yeah, fabulous. I love that. And so the purpose of today is to talk about how we love, our love of visual models. So tell me a little bit about how you've used visual models in your business.
Yes. Yeah, I know you love your visual models. I love to use...
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, I know you are.
Just a little bit.
I didn't really think about them until you really started with them, and then it started having me look at it. So until that point, they were just, I don't know. I mean, you see them all the time, but I don't think you really register the benefit of them at the time until you started with really, working with visual models. And I was like, okay, I take a bit of notice here.
So do you want to share a model that you use in your business?
Yeah, just let's do this.
And while you do, I can't believe I don't have a copy of my new book next to me. I'm going to grab it while you do that.
That's fine. Well, it should be up on the screen for people to see now, I hope.
We can see it. Yes, thank you. So talk us through this model. What's this model? How do you use this model and what's it about?
Okay, so this one is something that I give to new coaches, maybe coaches who are not really thriving in their business as well, not really getting enough clients, and more importantly, they've probably lost a bit of confidence or haven't built confidence yet. And this particular visual model I use is as simple as showing how your service, you might be thinking about it in one little place, but how it creates a ripple effect outwards. So if we look at this one, it's discovering your impact circle. It's like, well, what is the result, Renee, of what you do?
Mm-hmm. We create visual models.
So for a client, how does that then affect on an outward bound their finances and their income?
Yeah, they multiply their income some ridiculously. Yeah, like 300,000 to $1 million, or yeah.
And then ongoing from that, how does it affect that one client's health and well-being?
Yeah, well, they've got more energy and vitality for their business because they're not so burnt out from like being on the hamster wheel of making everything up as they go along.
Yeah. And then with that, increased finances, not making things up along, not being on the hamster wheel. If we take all that as well, how does that start to then affect their own family and relationships?
Yeah, they've got more time for those family relationships and more energy for them, so they're more likely to flourish.
And then in terms of the whole future and potential for them as a business, as a person,
they get to achieve their vision for their business and leave a lasting legacy.
And that is the result of your little visual model teaching.
Yeah.
And so we look first using that. What's the impact of my one little tiny service that I'm not feeling very confident about because I'm a brand new coach and I don't know how my little bit of relationship coaching is going to affect this woman. And so that's actually used for that. And then when we take it to the next level, you know, like people have problems with charging.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another way of understanding, you know, what you're charging is, how is it worth it? But also, how is it worth it just in terms of your work? What is it costing your client, your potential clients, if they don't hire you, Renee, if they don't come along and find out about visual models and then implement it into their own business? What's the result for their finances and money if that one important factor isn't brought into their business?
So well, I guess that they're not going to, their ability to grow their revenue is going to be limited by almost trading time for money.
Yeah. Backstuck maybe in just hour to hour, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If they haven't implemented this into their business, what could be the cost in terms of their health and well-being?
Burnout.
Because I know a lot of coaches, for my audience, my market, burnout's a really, really common one where coaches are working really, really, really hard, but not seeing the results in terms of their income.
Yep.
And I'd imagine yours would be one of the same as well. And then how does that affect their family and relationships? That extension out into there. Yeah,
well, relationships are going to start to struggle and potentially fail because they're not getting the energy they deserve.
Yeah, it starts to crack, doesn't it? And who knows what's going to happen between partner and partner, because one's burned out or under extreme pressure, doesn't know how to bring in the finances, nothing seems to be working. And then what does that do for the entire future and potential? The big cost on top of all that of not bringing visual models into their business.
Yeah, well, the risk is that they don't achieve the vision. They don't achieve the scale and have the impact on the scale that they want to have.
Yeah. And so this little exercise, as simple as it is, what I actually do is I actually hand that sheet out to them to print out. And I actually have to write in. So and I put you on the spotlight there.
Yeah. I hope I did all right. I'm never the best client.
You are a perfect example. I just thought, right, Renee, you're right there. You're going to do it. But when we look at that, what I do is this visual, I just print it out and they just work on hand with it. Like they can write the results of their work in the middle as to what they're thinking. And then it extends their thinking. So they're thinking, oh, I'm just going to help that woman with her relationship. And that's probably as far as many think. But no, come on, let's think a bit further. Like, how does that affect that person's finances and money? And so it goes on and out. So we get them to write all the way in each one of those little cost circles and, of course, the impact circle, both exactly the same, but we're just taking it from two different
both two sides of the same coin.
Different views. And that does now, you've just sat there and yes, you've not been the perfect client, and you really know your stuff, right? But imagine having been given that when you are not so confident, and start to see this ripple effect and this greater impact of your service that you're not that confident about at this moment in time. So for setting people up for understanding the greater work, the greater ripple effect of what it is that they're actually doing, I love these. I love these circles and this particular little handout I give just for that.
Yes. And I mean, you could have asked the same questions and had the written, as questions down in a, one underneath the other, but it doesn't have the same feeling as having it in this ripple effect model. So I love it. That's great. It's great to have that visual representation.
It is exactly that, isn't it? It is a ripple effect model. When you are right, I could have just put it onto a document and have it all written down and list.
Yeah.
But I love it this way. And, you know, for my clients as well, who are very much often coming from a sense of their work being around wholeness, spiritual efforts. And so circles mean a lot to them as well. For that reason alone, it starts to become perfect as well.
Yes, which you raise a great point there, is that when we're choosing the shapes for our models, we want them to be on brand, and they need to be shapes that appeal to our audience. They need to, you know, the metaphors need to make sense in the context. So yeah, exactly. Having a rocket ship here, you know, is not the right shape for your audience.
You're exactly right. Actually, the rocket ship does not work for my particular coaches and change makers at all. And even when you look at my own branding, it's got a lot of the little orbs and circles and all that to it, little sparkles and that. So this just, as you said, carries on from that, all the little twinkles, circles. And though we haven't twinkled it all up, that's probably taking a little bit too far, we're still carrying it along.
Yeah, absolutely. And then having said that, so that also means that, you know, there could be someone else who worked with a different audience, could potentially, you know, that a rocket ship would be right for them in talking about what's the impact that you have. Because yes, you're going to fly off into space. You know, that could be an appropriate metaphor, but not for you. And I think that's this is one of the things that I love, because I often work with lots of people who have a similar type of service, but their models are so different, because it's great. It helps to sort of really point out what their value proposition is, what their USP is, and why people should choose them. Like, they're going to resonate with the shapes and the vibe and, you know, all of that stuff. And it's similar with the work that you do with the visibility. You know, you probably work with lots of different relationship coaches, for example, but what works for one person doesn't work for the other. And so you're going to have this spectrum of different people, and everyone has something different to offer. And yeah, I love that we can show that through in the models, and really show, you know, what people's USP is and why they are different in the market. And it's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Great example. Thanks, Vanessa. Loved it.
Want me to share that one?
Yeah, sure. So if people want to find out more about who you are and what they do, if they're feeling invisible, where can they find you?
If you
Not LinkedIn, apparently.
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably not the greatest place. I said I'll drop in about once a year and say hi. If you really want to, you know, just hang out with me, basically, the best place, in all honesty, is my Facebook group. It's got about 19,500 members. Well, it could have been bigger, Renee. Apparently, my admins keep the entry level to mainly just coaches and change makers, rather than a lot of other aspects. So they've really just making sure it sticks in that. But it's called Coaches Change Makers Step into the Spotlight. It's been around for a few years now.
It has.
Yeah.
Keeps on going.
Well, they tell me it'd be up around 45,000 members or something if they kept letting in everyone. Yeah. So if you are watching, you know, and by all means, we don't, you know, keep everyone out, but by all means, just to help my admin, just instant entry, just say seen on Renee or seen with Renee.
Yeah. Good idea.
Straight in, and they won't have to check out profiles and that. And that's, you know, and a lot of people look at Facebook groups as wanting to build it as big as possible. We actually look at ours as trying to make it as quality as possible rather than as big as possible.
Yeah. And that's probably why it's still around. I closed my Facebook group last year because I was like, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. But yours still is thriving. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, I love it. You know, you were telling me how much you loved your LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh, I'm still loving my Facebook group. I really do love it in there.
Yeah, we've all got our own favorite cafes. That's great. All right, well, we'll make sure that we put the link to your Facebook group in the comments, so that people can easily just find you and come check you out and hang out with you and learn a bit more about what it is that you do. Yep. Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's been so lovely to see you. I've missed you.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'll have to go back to LinkedIn a bit more now, won't I? If I know you're not hanging on Facebook now, because I was thinking, where has Renee been? And now I know.
That's where I went. Renee has left the building.
Oh, Renee's moved to a completely foreign dark country.
It's a parallel universe over there.
I'll show up a bit more there now, maybe. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Vanessa.